Spring break. Spring break was only 2 weeks ago and it already feels so far in the past. Spring break was great this year. We went to Washington, D.C. To spend some time with my in-laws, and because of the extra help that I got from them with the little girls, I had some extra time to play games, and I mainly played light games. By which I mean not only games that were light in terms of complexity, but also light in terms of weight, physical weight. I was looking for games that I could easily transport from beautiful Bloomington, Indiana to DC, and one such game that I brought with me and that I played there was Trajan. This is a game that was published in the Strategy and Tactics magazine, issue 145, and it deals with the campaign hailed by Trajan in the 2nd century against the Parthian kingdom in the Middle East. A campaign that was very successful from the military point of view, and that also was possible, that the success of the campaign was also possible because of the political and psychological influence of the Roman army. Meaning how the Roman army managed to convince some of the enemies to defect and to start cooperating with the Romans. This is a game that I had heard great things about, and I purchased back in the day, and it had been on my shelf for a long time, and somehow I never had a chance of playing it. As I was choosing the games to bring with me for spring break, I all of a sudden saw this one. I noticed, I realized that I hadn't played this one. I decided to bring it with me and give it a chance and give it a try. So I played this game, and today I'm going to tell a little bit about my experience with the game. But before that, I want to give a sense of how the game plays. Here you see the map of the game, which is printed on paper as it is to be expected with a magazine game. And that overall, to me, looks good. I find it visually appealing, at least the map itself. Clearly, the tables around it are very Spartan, to say the least, which goes together with the ancient theme, I guess. But I like it. I like the way in which it works, and I think everything is organized pretty well around here. So here you have the map where the main action will happen, out of map boxes to place armies that are too big to be stacked in a single hex, and also to place other counters there. Here you have the turn track, terrain key, and here you have an area that you use to resolve combat in the advanced version of the game. Or I should say, if you decide to use advanced combat. In that case, when you have to resolve combat, you move your units to this area here, and you play the game with a very strong tactical feel. The battle is very tactical at that point. Positioning your units, moving your units, all of these things are key. The advanced combat system is a true mini game that I will not have time to talk about today. In most cases, probably you won't have time to play or to use in each combat. Probably you will want to resolve most battles using the standard combat system. Then sometimes there will be important battles that you will want to transfer here, because it takes quite a while. It is a mini game, and maybe not even all that mini. It can easily take between half an hour and an hour to resolve a medium or large size battle. So for somebody that may be too much of an interruption, keep in mind you have that option. Actually, there's even a scenario that is a battle only, and that scenario could be played as a mini game by itself. But back to the game. Here we have the map. This is the direction from which the Romans are coming and pushing against the Parthians. The red squares that you see on the map are Roman cities. The light blue ones are Parthian cities, and this central area here, this here on the left, will attract a lot of attention, because this is the area where the Romans start in the early campaign scenario, and also in the campaign scenario, the one that connects several of the other scenarios. The Romans will be placed here, and again, here we have the Parthian defenders. At the beginning of the game, the Parthians are heavily outnumbered. They really have just to survive and to resist, as they are recruiting people and putting together large armies. And on the other hand, the Romans will try to take control of as many locations on
the map as possible. The scenarios in the early phase of the game also require the Roman player to take control of the cities in Armenia. So, this is how the game starts. And the Romans have an advantage at the beginning of the game. However, as they progress towards the eastern sections of the Parthian kingdom, and they're trying to go as far as they can to take control of as much as they can, well, the farther they go, the tougher things become, because it becomes easier for the Parthians to cut the Roman supplies. It is harder for the Romans to get the new recruits. When you take control of a city, you can recruit new people, but depending on the type of city, there are only certain types of units that you can recruit. The best ones, of course, can be recruited in Roman cities, even better in Roman capitals. That means that the Roman may have to leave some leaders behind, working on recruiting and then shipping units here. Reinforcements that come from outside of the map, they have the same problem. It takes them a long time to get anywhere where they need to be. Another important thing is that traveling is not that easy. This is not just a matter of like, oh, I'm gonna go from there to there, that's it. Well, you may try to do that, and maybe you may even succeed, but there are many cases in which you won't make it at all, or only some of your people will make it there. Attrition in this game is nasty, is brutal, trust me. It will take a toll on your armies comparable to the one that battles will take, and in some cases I would say even more than that. Anyways, a turn starts with a political phase in which, pretty simple, you roll 2 dice and you look at the political events table and you simply implement the result of the roll. A lot of different things may happen, some very challenging, some affect the game even if they don't happen. For example, the Roman player has a really good stock of reinforcements that he can bring in from the Empire. However, those reinforcements are meant to keep an eye on the Empire, to keep the Empire in order. And if there's an event that basically will force the Roman player to check the situation in the Empire, you have to roll a die, and the higher is the number of units that you move from the Empire to the battle, the more the chances that there will be very bad effects happening to you. That is, if you have depleted the defenses of the Empire to support your campaign here, then you have a higher risk that bad stuff will happen to you in the Empire. As I said, that event is going to affect the game even if it never happens, even if it never really hits. After that, you have the movement phase, during which units will move on the map. Units, actually, before I talk about movement, let me show you some of the units. Units have 3 values, which are left to right, combat, discipline, and movement. There's also a symbol that tells the type of unit that is: cavalry, archers, heavy infantry, auxiliary units, and different types of units fight in very different ways. They may even have similar values at the bottom, but then their effect can be very different. Also, each player has a stock of strategy markers, of stratagems. These can be played in different phases of the game, and they can be used for a variety of ways. Military stratagems, for example, can be used to get initiative in battle. Other political stratagems can be used to affect the situations in an enemy city. You may try to start a revolt there, a rebellion. Maybe the garrison of a city that you were surrounding with a siege will rebel against the owner. A lot of stuff can happen. I like those stratagems very much. In any case, you move your armies. When you move your armies made of those units, you choose the type of terrain that you're using. Of course, you commit to a certain type of movement, which can be by road or track, can be cross-country, can be following a river. Then you roll a die. Yeah, you don't just move. No, you roll a die and you cross-reference the result of the roll with the type of movement that you're executing. And there are different effects. You may be able to move your units or not to move them at all. You may be able to move some extra distance. You may move, but you lose one unit because of attrition. And in some cases, say, if you are moving, if you're marching during winter, if you're forced marching, you may lose half of your army doesn't make it to the destination, to the point, to the location where you're trying to move it. That's huge, huh? After movement, units that end movement in the same location as the opponent will have to fight. How does it work? The combat system is, the basic combat system has 3 phases, in which first, all of the units that have a range attack may fire. So the first round of combat is a fire round. Only those units can attack. Then you have a melee round in which all units in an army may attack, but certain types of units, for example, heavy armed infantry and cavalry, are doubled. Their strength is doubled. Then you have the pursuit round, in which again all units may combat, but certain types of units will have their attack strengths increased. It is a very simple mechanics, but it does give you already a tactical feel of the opening of the battle with range attacks, main fight, pursuit, in which cavalry units become particularly useful. In each combat round, however, you do not resolve things simultaneously. A player goes first and the other player goes next. Playing stratagems allows you to get initiative. But what happens when you are attacking during those rounds? Well, you roll on this table here, and you cross-reference the result with the total combat factors of your forces, the force that is fighting. Only ranged units in the fire round, everybody in the melee round with the modifications. The result may be nothing, maybe a certain amount of strength points that are lost by one of the 2 sides, or C, that means a discipline check, and you will have to check on the discipline table. You roll, cross-reference with the discipline of the unit that is involved, and, well, several effects may happen for passing or failing the discipline check. After combat, you have the supply phase, which is optional. It is in the advanced game, but I highly recommend using that. If you don't want to use any of the other advanced rules, use that one. Because keeping supply lines open, taking control of key cities so you can open a supply line through a river, that is really key. I'm not going to get into the details of how you keep supplies open, but there are many ways of doing it. There's a certain flexibility. On the other hand, the terrain is unforgiving, so you have that nice interaction there between a lot of ways in which you can build and rebuild your supply units and a terrain that demands you to do so. Last but not least, sieges. Those happen every time that you attack an enemy city and your army is sitting around that city. There are 3 ways in which you can handle that. You can just sit there, you do nothing, you simply block supplies, and at the end of the turn the player has to roll a die and see what the effect of your just trying to start the city is. And that may help. Usually that reduces a large number of people in the city to a much more manageable number, but it is hard that it will kill everybody. By itself will allow you to take control of the city. You may build siege engines, but you need engineer units. You do not have many of those on the map, and it takes time. Or you may just launch a frontal assault, which is very expensive. It is going to get a lot of your people badly wounded or just killed, and it is hard to take a city just by using that. So similar to the supply thing, many ways in which you can do it, none easy, none excellent per se, and you will need to use a combination of techniques to take a city. And you have to repeat the procedure each city as the opponent is using his resources, not to build siege engines or things like that, but to recruit units and to build a large army. So the game really gives an advantage to the Romans early on, but then the cost of attrition, the cost of moving, the cost of executing sieges, all of the resources that you are pouring into that and that the opponent is not putting into that, the opponent is using in different ways, all of these will create a swing in the situation later in the game and will make things much tougher for the Roman player and much easier for the Parthian player. And again, the situation will be reverted if then the Parthian player starts pushing considerably against the borders of the Roman Empire and start threatening the Roman cities.
I have to tell you, I like this game quite a bit. I think it is pretty remarkable, especially for a magazine game. Magazine games get a bad rep, which by the way is spelled R-E-P, not R-A-P. A bad rep because of a variety of reasons, insufficient playtesting, rules very often written in a not ideal way. Some of the things that you see of these things are true here, and I'm talking about the rules that could be a little cleaner, could be a little tighter. There definitely are omissions that must have been addressed in an errata in a following issue, but I only have this one. I don't have the errata. I still figure things out. If you have any familiarity with wargaming and wargaming conventions and common sense, I think you'll be able to figure out the obscure points that the rules may leave unexplained. But as for the game itself, as I said, I like it. I like it quite a bit. I mean, it has it all. To me, it has it all. It has a political aspect. The political table, we have that in many games, and yet this one is very smartly designed because those events are important or relevant. They really impact the game. You really have to take into account the possibility that those events will hit. And then you have the logistical aspect, which is really important. You really have to play the game with the supply rules. So those add so much flavor and complexity to the game, so much depth to the game. And it really feels right. Forced march, winter marches, not being able to keep your supply lines open when you are in hostile territory, all of those things really matter. Logistical aspects, the difficulty of recruiting goods, units as the campaign progresses, all of these things are built in a very elegant way. They just work well. And then you have, of course, the strategic aspect, by which I mean just the military aspect, positioning of armies. And then you even have the tactical aspect, which is hugely magnified in the advanced game, which is really a mini game. It is just so tactical. But even if you're playing with the basic combat system, the game still gives you a tactical sense. You still have the sense that the abilities of the units are emphasized in certain parts of the battle, and the certain compositions of armies will have an advantage over other ones. Then you have the flexibility given by the strategy markers that can be used in a variety of ways. You have just so many factors that come together, and what is phenomenal is that they come together in a rule set that is not long, that is not over complex, and that then translates in a game that is very playable. You have games that have all of these nuances, but they are just monsters that are very hard to chew and hard to swallow. This one is very playable. It just flows well. I had a great time playing it. I played solitaire only. I played the campaign game. It was a joy to see the campaign develop. It followed more or less historical lines. Not that I was trying to follow historical lines. I was trying to make things that made sense, and just historical lines seemed to guide the direction of the event, which is great. It just means that playability and the historical background have come together well. What a nice surprise. I had heard good things about this game, but I have to tell you that this game really exceeded expectations. Now I'm really excited about the system, the Ancient Wars system, and I purchased a box set that was printed after this game came out, and other 3 games came out with the same system. Then Strategy and Tactics put together a box set with all the 4 games. I have that. I need to try to find the time to play the other games in the system because I enjoyed this one so much that I have no doubts I'll enjoy the other ones too. If you are looking for an ancient themed system that has a lot of nuances, a lot of angles, and at the same time is fully playable, I would suggest trying this system here. Maybe you can do like I did. You just try with a single game, with the one that comes in this issue, Strategy and Tactics, which you can still find online easily, and then you can see if you want to purchase other magazines or look for the box set, which is a little harder to come by. In any case, Trajan and the system, the ancient war system, the Trajan is based on two great discoveries and two things that I'm really happy I got to discover and I got to play.